The school bus driver had one nerve left, and Karen was standing on it. Her silver Lexus sat sideways across the only entrance to the Ashwood Heights subdivision, hazard lights blinking like it was an emergency vehicle instead of a midlife crisis. Behind her, a bright yellow school bus stretched down the road, full of kids staring out the windows, phones up, recording everything. Karen stood in front of the gate with a clipboard, screaming something about non-compliant vehicular access and unauthorized commercial transport. The bus driver, a woman built like she could bench press the Lexus, leaned out the window and yelled, "Ma'am, move the car." Karen folded her arms. Not until this commercial vehicle provides the HOA with proof of insurance and a gate access permit. Red and blue lights flashed up the street. 2 police cruisers rolled into view. An officer stepped out, took one look at the screaming HOA president, the blocked bus, and the line of honking cars curling around the block, and his expression changed from annoyed to "You have got to be kidding me." On the sidewalk, quietly filming the entire scene with my phone, I stood there in my faded NASA hoodie. My name is Ethan Rowe, homeowner, migraine sufferer, and the man Karen had been trying and failing to break for the last 6 months. I zoomed in as the officer said the magic words. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for obstruction of a school bus and interfering with public transport." The bus erupted in cheers. And I, for the first time since buying in Ashwood Heights, smiled. 3 months earlier, I just wanted a quiet life. I had bought the small 3-bedroom on Maple Crest Lane after a messy breakup, attracted by the clean sidewalks, the quiet cul-de-sacs, and the promise that the neighborhood was peaceful and well-managed. I worked from home as a software engineer, kept my lawn trimmed, and rarely interacted with anyone. My ideal social life was waving once at Christmas. Unfortunately, the HOA president had other plans. Her name was Karen Delaney, though in every group chat I later saw, she was listed as Karen HOA, Gate Goblin, or simply the board. Late 40s, blonde bob, eternally holding a Starbucks cup and a clipboard like a suburban battle standard. She moved through the neighborhood like a self-appointed warden of decency. The subdivision was called Ashwood Heights, a place where the homes were beige, the SU versus were big, and the rules were written like God himself had signed off on them. The HOA welcome packet she delivered to me was a 3-ring binder. She smiled too wide as she handed it over. "We take community standards very seriously here," she said. "Appearance is everything. Property values are everything." I glanced at the thickness of the binder. "This looks thorough." "If you read and follow everything," Karen said, "we'll get along just fine." Spoiler, we did not. It started small, like a rash. The first violation notice slid into my mailbox a week after I moved in. Trash can visibly placed on curb prior to 6 p.m. First warning. The second came 2 days later. Garage door left open for more than 10 minutes. Security risk. Second warning. I checked my security camera footage. The door had been open 13 minutes. Karen had walked by at minute 11, snapped a picture, and promptly filed a complaint. By week 3, the warnings escalated into fines. Unapproved lawn ornament, solar lights, $50. Driveway oil stain, real or perceived, $75. Window blinds not uniform white, $100. That last one really annoyed me. I had blackout curtains. Karen had literally stepped onto my lawn, pressed her face to the glass, and peered in like a nosy raccoon with authority issues. I started documenting everything. I installed extra cameras that pointed toward the street, set them to archive to the cloud, and labeled the folder Karen in all caps. I told no one, because I still thought this was probably just an overzealous HOA president who would eventually get bored. She did not get bored. She got creative. She stood across the street walking her dog while zooming in on my house with her phone. She measured the length of my grass with a tape measure. She left sticky notes on my door. We noticed a delivery left unattended. Garage not immediately closed after exiting. When a neighborhood kid accidentally left a scooter near my driveway, I moved it to the sidewalk so no one tripped. The next day I got this. Unauthorized children's toy on property. Safety violation. $25. I emailed back politely, asking what rule that was under. Karen replied with a screenshot of a clause labeled miscellaneous safety concerns, which may as well have said whatever annoys me today. I started hearing whispers from neighbors. She does this to everyone at first. She's testing you. She tried to fine us for having a birthday yard sign. For a 6-year-old. She once called animal control because a dog barked at her. Then she found a new target, my niece, Lily. Every other Friday, I watched my sister's 8-year-old daughter while she worked her double shift at the hospital. Lily was shy, loved dinosaurs, and thought HOA rules were like school but for grass. That morning, the school bus route changed because of nearby road construction, so the bus company rerouted to pick Lily up at the Ashwood Heights front gate, a small inconvenience that would soon become federal-grade stupidity. I had called ahead. The bus company confirmed the temporary stop. I walked Lily to the gate, backpack bouncing, her hair in 2 crooked braids I had done my best on. As we waited, Karen's Lexus rolled up to the security gate and stopped. She rolled her window down halfway. "Mr. Rowe, why is there a child loitering at the gate?" I blinked. "She's waiting for her bus. They changed the route." Karen's eyes narrowed like I had confessed to smuggling contraband. "There is no approved school bus stop inside Ashwood Heights. It's temporary. Construction detour. Bus company cleared it." "With whom?" she asked, voice already sharpening. "The city. The district." "I don't know, Karen, the transportation gods." "That's not how this works," she snapped. "All commercial vehicles, including school buses, require HOA gate access authorization. You can't just invite them in. They're not invited in. They're picking up a child. If a school bus enters without approval," she said, "we'll have to consider that trespassing." I laughed, assuming she was joking. Then I saw she wasn't. The bus came into view down the street. That's when Karen did it. She jerked the wheel, angled her Lexus sideways, and blocked the gate. The bus slowed, stopped, and honked. Karen got out of the car with her clipboard, standing in the middle of the lane like she was facing down a tank. "You cannot enter," she shouted. "This is a private, gated community. You have no authorization." The driver leaned out. "Ma'am, this is a school bus. I'm picking up a child." "Not without an access card and proof of insurance filed with the HOA, Karen declared. "You will not enter this community with a large, unvetted vehicle." I called the non-emergency police line. While I was on hold, Karen whipped out her phone and loudly announced she was calling the HOA security contractor, then the city, then, I heard this clearly, if needed, the Department of Homeland Security, because of suspicious transport activity at the gate. She actually dropped Homeland Security over a school bus. 2 kids inside the bus pressed their faces to the glass, laughing and filming. Lily squeezed my hand. "Uncle E," she whispered, "am I contraband?" I covered my mouth so Karen couldn't see my grin. "Apparently." When the dispatcher heard school bus blocked, gated community, and refusal to move vehicle, it stopped being non-emergency. They sent real cops. By the time the police arrived, a line of 15 cars snaked back to the main road. Parents were late for work, kids were late for school, and Karen, red in the face, still shouting, was refusing to move her Lexus. I had moved Lily behind the stone entry sign, out of the immediate circus. I hit record on my phone and walked closer, staying on the public side of the gate line. The first officer stepped out of his cruiser, sunglasses on, face set in the exhausted look of someone who clocks in every day and finds new forms of dumb. "Ma'am," he said, "what's going on here?" Karen jutted her chin. "Officer, I am the HOA president of Ashwood Heights, and this commercial vehicle is attempting unauthorized entry into private property. I am thereby exercising my right to restrict access." The officer looked at the yellow school bus, then at the cheering children, then at the growing line of furious adults. "That's a school bus," he said slowly. "It is a large undocumented vehicle," Karen insisted. "We do not know who is on it. There could be." He held up a hand. "Ma'am, step aside, please. You're blocking a public road, impeding a school bus, and disrupting traffic." "This road is private," she said triumphantly. "And that bus," he replied, "is on the public side of the gate. And you're blocking it from proceeding to its route. That's obstruction." I walked up, staying polite. "Officer, I live here. I've got everything on my security cameras." Her blocking the gate, refusing to move, calling the bus suspicious transport. "My niece is supposed to be on that bus." "You have video?" the officer asked, instantly more interested. "Multiple angles," I said. "Plus the audio of her threatening to call Homeland Security." The second officer, who had been talking to the bus driver and getting her side, came over. "She's making kids late to school over some HOA power trip," the driver said. "I've got 20 minors on board and 2 more stops to make." The first officer turned to Karen. "Ma'am, this is your last chance. Move your vehicle, or we're going to have to take enforcement action. You can't arrest me for protecting property values." She snapped. The universe, it turned out, could absolutely arrest her for something else. "Ma'am, turn around. Put your hands behind your back." Karen's jaw dropped open, fish-like. "You can't. This is an overreach of power. Blocking a school bus is against the law," the officer said. "You're under arrest for obstruction and interfering with public transport. We'll sort the rest out downtown." The bus erupted into cheers, tiny fists pumping against the windows. One kid yelled, "World Star." Another, clearly the class overachiever, shouted, "Is this going on TikTok?" Karen started flailing. "I'm the HOA president. I run this community." The officer, to his credit, didn't even smirk. "Not today, you don't." I quietly shifted my phone to capture everything. The cuffs, the sputtering outrage, the moment she tried to twist it into victimhood. "You," she pointed at me as they walked her to the cruiser, "you're behind this. You're going to be fined for this. I will have your house leaned." The officer stopped walking just long enough to say, "Ma'am, I strongly recommend you stop threatening people on camera." Later, my security footage, plus half the neighborhood's phone videos, ended up online. Local news picked it up. HOA president arrested after blocking school bus at gated community. Headlines multiplied, each worse for Karen than the last. Then the real fun started. Because I wasn't just quietly filming for the internet. I had also emailed my entire collection of documented harassment, every bogus fine, every trespassing incident, screenshots of her emails, straight to the city attorney's office, the school district's legal department, and the property management company that technically oversaw the HOA. By the time Karen made bail, she wasn't just that HOA lady. She was that HOA lady under criminal investigation with possible civil liability. The fallout came in waves. First, the school district filed a formal complaint against the HOA for interfering with student transportation, copying the city council, the mayor, and, most deliciously, the local reporters who already loved the story. Then, the property management company called an emergency meeting. I didn't want to go. I preferred my quiet, hermit lifestyle. But my neighbor, a retired firefighter named Tom, knocked on my door and said, "You've got the receipts. You're coming." The meeting was brutal. Karen showed up with a printed speech about safety and liability. The board sat stone-faced as I, calm as ever, played back security footage on a projector. Karen trespassing, Karen measuring grass at 6 a.m., Karen threatening fines over a child scooter. Then I played the gate footage. The entire room watched Karen's Lexus block the bus. They heard Homeland Security. They watched kids' faces smushed to the windows as she argued with the driver. When the video ended, the room was silent. The property manager cleared his throat. Given the criminal charges and, this extensive pattern of behavior, we're recommending her immediate removal from the board under Section 5.3, Conduct Detrimental to the Community. One of the quieter board members, a woman who had clearly had enough, added, "And we recommend a lifetime ban on holding any HOA position in this subdivision." It passed. Unanimously. Karen tried to object, citing bylaw technicalities and claiming my cameras violated her privacy. The property manager calmly slid a paper across the table. "Also, our legal counsel recommends a cease and desist against you for harassment of residents. And you are barred from approaching Mr. Rowe's property line or contacting him directly." The next week, a sheriff's deputy served her with an official restraining order. Her punishment escalated from local embarrassment to Google search result disaster. Anytime someone looked up her name, They saw her mugshot next to words like obstruction, HOA, and school bus. The criminal charges came next. Karen pleaded no contest to obstruction of a school bus, a misdemeanor that carried a mandatory fine of $2,500, 40 hours of community service, and a permanent mark on her criminal record. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, looked down at Karen over her reading glasses and said, "Ma'am, a school bus is not a commercial vehicle you can simply block because you feel like it. Children were late to school. Parents were late to work. Emergency vehicles could not have accessed this area. Your actions were reckless, entitled, and dangerous." Karen stood there, mouth open, face pale. "But I was protecting the community," she stammered. The judge cut her off. "You were protecting nothing but your own sense of authority. $2,500. 40 hours community service. And I'm ordering you to take a course on civic responsibility and public safety laws." Court adjourned. Karen's face went from pale to bright red as the gavel came down.